success as a moving target. If we turn around and don't know where we're headed to, we can do all these other motions and do busy work, but it won't get us to where we're actually aiming for or the outcome we're supposedly headed for. So a wrong definition leads to the right answer for a wrong problem. So this is misalignment. Again, it's not hitting the target where we need to go. So clarity is the compass. Without it, every decision is just movement, not progress. So your compass is, you can visualize it like a real compass, but also making an organizational map or a success map or your SMART goals into something that can be comparatively aligned with your compass, if that makes any sense. But again, why it's varied is because it can be, that's a tool that you can use in any business and in any achievement you want to get to. So that's where it's also just, this has to be the first and most important decision that you make. And if you don't name the problems correctly, you solve symptoms. You don't fix it. So this again goes back to some interesting socioeconomic issues that no one really knows what the issue is, but everyone wants to throw funding at it or not fix certain things. But we're not understanding the underlying root cause. So we have to go back to the foundation. And what happens on floor one of the decision-making process is identifying the problem and identifying the perspective that will shape the entire cause or product. The second prompt is, in what type of work situations would satisficing be appropriate? List at least 3 occupations or industries where satisficing would not be an appropriate strategy for decision making. So good enough versus perfect, well done, better than not done at all. But my assistant and I used to go by a better one, and it was do it nice or do it twice. Because we want to make sure that even if we only get a chance to do something once, that there's a lot of intent with it, that there's a lot of purpose, a lot of thought, and a well executed plan. So the rational choice theory is a lexical blend of satisfying and suffice. So satisfying meaning it satisfies the needs, and sufficing means it's like the best option available. You can call it picking one end of a sword, or there's a lot of different blends on anecdotes about this, because it's not always a perfect world. We can't always have what we want. So it's choosing the good enough when time, cost, or reality demands it. So you might not be able to have the house that you want. You might not be able to have the car you want, but can this one do? Can this one do what at least you need it to do? So I might like a nicer car, but this one gets me to work. It gets me to school. It gets me to yoga. It gets me to church. It gets me to the places that I need to be without having to rely on the bus, which in Florida is its own other set of theories and issues that we could talk about. But in the fast moving environment, speed beats perfection. So when you're looking to get things to market, yes, there's ways that you can be more exact or more amazing with your product. But that's where also we have to decide, if we wait till something's perfect, has it already passed? There's a lot of people who made a lot of money by making knockoff spinners back in the day. Spinners, for those of you who don't know, were those little like gadgety toys that kids would play with and spin within their hands. And it was great little fun tool and a thing that people maybe didn't love in the schools, but it was great for kids. So there was a lot of knockoffs of the original version of it. Some of them could have been thought out a lot better, but they got to market, they made their capital back, and then they were able to reinvest and learn from their mistakes on the fly. So, what I call that is building your net on the way down. And if you've ever been an entrepreneur, that's also part of it. That's what we do. Every failing also has a separate net. And that's another strategy where you have to just decide what is best in this option, but also being mindful and ethical about it. So, industries where this is not appropriate are healthcare because it's not ethical, surgery, that type of thing, anyone's health. It's not a good mix. Aviation, we're in charge of people's lives and the safety of those on the ground as well. So, I think that that wouldn't be a great option. Engineering and structural design. I mean, we've seen this happen where bridges fail, buildings fail. So I also believe that that is just a non-negotiable on that one. But in other fields, it could be appropriate. Maybe you're holding tables for reservations. This is something I deal with often. And I have to somehow negotiate that this table is going to show up, and I've just told this other table right in front of me they can't sit there until the other people no show. And it's very tricky, especially in a higher end establishment. It gets very tricky, but you have to pick the choice that's going to be okay. So I often think that that always goes back to communicating it, so where the transition it into where it works for everybody is what needs to happen. So it's great for filmmaking, events, and startups where you have to sometimes be on a limited budget as well. We see this in our personal lives, but we also see it happen in creative aspects, creative fields, and also larger projects. So I think the next prompt is somewhat of a trick question because creativity is innovation and innovation is creativity. And they don't exist in a silo, but they exist in separate layers and in separate spaces. So they're different, but they're the same. So it is the idea that innovation is the implementation. It's a distinction in what comes first, the chicken or the egg. Creativity is thinking about things differently, and so is innovation. They both have slightly different outcomes, but not really, because a piece of art is a product, and a product is also a piece of art. So this is where the exploration for social science for me also is within creativity and innovation, because they are easily applied to real world problems. And creativity without innovation is just ideas that stay in your head sometimes. And innovation without creativity can be extremely limited or incremental if you're not given the right tools and resources or know how to somehow work within the right field to get the thing done. You can be creative without impact, but you can't innovate without creating something new. And that's something interesting. Because in the art world, we can always create another sculpture, another painting, another film. But are you creating something new? Yes, in film world, romances sell, rom-coms sell. Um, we know these things, but is it new? When you're reading through piles of scripts or you're even writing your own script, that's the question I keep going back to with editing certain things. Is it new? Is it aligned with defining the real world problems, innovation to creating the solution for it too. Will it help provoke people to want to make a change? Which again, that's where innovation is, that's where leadership is. It's not just saying this is the way things should be or this is the story. It's saying this as a whole is the call to action. And I think that's why it's a trick question. You can't innovate without creating something new. So the next prompt was about creative potential versus practiced creativity. And why I think I have an interesting background to sort of play into this is because of my upbringing um, in the form of location. I grew up in New York, so New York City, New York, Westchester, Long Island, those are all places I lived for a lot of years. Um, I got to see a lot of people with different socioeconomic backgrounds, exploring different occupations, and just merely being a social scientist while riding the subway since I was 10 years old by myself. So I've seen people do certain things and people get severely lost or be in crisis or weird situations because of basic things. But I've also read enough and learned enough that and worked at enough places since I was 12 years old in a bakery in New York, that hiring for experience when the stakes demand results is where this question lies. And if you hire for potential when the environment allows growth, there's leeway. And it's up to you to decide what works for your business. Hiring in December as a retail store, right, December 20th, is not maybe enough time to give your new staff time for training on the floor, real life training. So this is interesting, doing it again with photography over the years. I have a lot of photographers who want to shoot weddings and they come with me and try to shoot a wedding, and by hour 4 they're like, when are we going to be done? This is really tiring. And I'm like, yeah, it is, but this is also, if this is what you want to do, you also have to use the things you like to do in service-based skills and in trying to judge if you like this. Number one, this is really how it is. So if you don't want it now, that's fine. Don't open up a wedding photography business like I did. And I think that showing them that environment lets them know feedback. Do they want to be in that space or not? Is that your arena or not? And why I say that is because it means that it doesn't mean they're a bad employee, lazy employee, don't like to work employee, distracted, anything that you can say, whether it's good or bad. But if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, you're not going to understand its full vastness of skills. And that's where tests that are for schools, and maybe they're standardized tests, maybe they're what we used to call the bubble sheets. They might not be the best judge of how well a child learns and how they communicate. And I know that I've gone through this through the years with retaining different information, especially at different emotional times in my life and different times of sleep as well with having infants. You learn differently, and potential is a long-term investment. Experience is a short-term guarantee. So if you see someone's potential, that's great. And that's probably worth more than someone's experience, because even though they've done those things, it doesn't always mean that they'll do them again. I made a wedding cake once. I don't think I ever want to do it again. But yeah, I did it. My potential for cake decorating is great. um, the experience of being able to show that I could do it and it looked amazing is wonderful. But again, the potential long term investment on putting me through culinary school might not be great. And that's where high level facilities, schools, they place scholarships on kids that they see their potential in. This is why things are invested like that. And it's not to say one person has higher value or not, it's saying that this investment in this way helps me gain edge on an obstacle. So that's where also creative potential versus practice creativity is also in decision making with hiring, because if your main point is we need servers who are multilingual, well, then you need to make sure that even if someone has a lot of experience, they also speak the other languages. I've been on the adverse side of this. I don't speak Spanish, so I'm not at the edge for doing certain jobs within communities that are trilingual like ours. And I understand that. And I also understand that if I want my community to thrive, that also has to be okay. And that's where creative potential and potential of long term investment is great in someone like me, because I tend to be more disarming and just more empathetic. So even if I can't speak the language, or I only speak a little bit of Italian or a little bit of French, I'm able to communicate enough and be intellectually or socially connected to the guests by making great eye contact and other contexts that makes them feel well received. And that's how in hospitality I sort of make ends meet when I don't have one of the other girls with me.